Right, good morning everybody. Looks like we've got about 10 of you guys in already, so I think we'll make a start with introductions and then pass over to our guest speaker. So this morning's webinar is on the re-startup mentality. Today we've got Luke Quilter from Sleeping Giant Media who will be speaking for us and sharing some slides with you guys. Next, just to introduce myself, my name's Ryan Harris. I'm the membership executive for both the East Kent and South Kent. Just a couple more things to go through before we get started, just some housekeeping rules. If possible, for you guys to keep cameras on if you can and if you'd like to. Also, microphones, we should be able to mute everybody anyway, just to sort of avoid any sort of accidental interruptions. But if you can't, if it's not already muted, then please, if you guys could mute your mics. And we will be taking questions. Luke will be answering questions. So please use the chat function available to us all to answer those, to ask those questions. And just sort of out of courtesy, just to let you know, that this webinar will also be recorded as well. So next up, I'll introduce you all to Luke Quilter, who will take over now, share his screen and show you some slides.
Hi guys, how is everybody doing today? I hope everyone is well and you're not zoomed out. Okay, it's still relatively early today, so I'm hoping that we're not kind of zoomed out for the day. So I've put together some content and stuff that I've been talking about now for the last few months. I'm just going to share my screen and hopefully you can see me holding a picture of me. And see if you can. I can see Molly nodding. She knows the drill. Molly knows the drill. And yeah, this is something I've been talking to sort of a number of different sort of groups about. A lot of CEOs talking about some of the things that they can do. So I tried to address a couple of things. There's a kind of the mindset piece that we're going to talk about, but also some practical tools as well, some ideas to get you started. I've just been adding some additional bits as well to the content, because I think there's some hopefully useful takeaways that are kind of evolving all the time. This is something that as a talk I've kind of built, but literally every time I've delivered it, it's new. There's something else I've added to it. So hopefully, even if you've seen some of it before, there's some new bits in here as well. As Ryan mentioned, please do use the chat feature as we go along. And I'm going to get you kind of using that in just a second as well. So this is, for those of you who don't know me, my name's Luke. I'm the CEO of Sleeping Giant Media and Giant Campus. All my contact details are there. I've also got Sean Staunton in the chat. You'll see him there. Hello from Sean. So again, he'll be able to help with any additional kind of content. And what we found from a remote delivery perspective is that actually, this is all about ideas and starting some initial ideas for you guys. We've then linked out. So as we go along, Sean's going to be posting some links in the chat which relate to the content I'm talking about, but also allows you to take some of those exercises a little bit further as well, because there's not enough time to kind of explore it in full. So we're just starting the idea and then you can expand on that in your own time as well. So this is kind of pre-lockdown, branded, the world goes insane, the home office, children entering the shot every 20 seconds is kind of what happens. And again, that whole BBC News reporter, do everyone remember that one? That was like, went viral, didn't it? And actually now you see it literally every second of the day, pretty much on Zoom. Then Zoom fatigue kind of sets in at day 60. I put this in as a joke. So I did this before, like I've been talking about this as a joke, sort of at day 150 of lockdown. And I actually don't know what day, Sean, I don't know if you know what day we're in. But I don't think we're far away from day 150. I don't have the beard. But I did this as a joke, thinking there's no way that this thing could last for this long. And I suspect we're going to be in a similar sort of scenario for quite some time. Incidentally, if you do want to up your Zoom game, there's a link that Sean's going to post about adding a filter over the top of it, so you can add a beard if you want or whatever. But just be warned, know how to switch that off. I've heard reports of a CEO who implemented this on my recommendation, couldn't switch it off, delivered a 2-hour presentation in a Viking helmet. So just be warned that you gotta know how to use the tech. And so just to get things kicked off, when I normally do talks in the real world, we do the handout game. It doesn't quite work so well in the virtual environment, but we're going to navigate that by just using the chat function. So In the last 30 days around the world, are more people searching for Skype communications or Zoom video communications? 1 for Skype, 2 for Zoom. Molly, very competitive, off and running there. Hi, Ellie, good to see you. Kate, good to see you too. Let's have a look. Yeah, it's an easy one to start with. Yeah, by a long, long way. Does anyone use Skype? I use it for a show, but that is literally it. It's kind of disappeared. Going into this one, disposable mask versus reusable. So just 1 for disposable mask and 2 for reusable. Let's have a look. It is, I'm pleased to say, reusable mask, which is good because I have seen a lot of litter. It's like this whole, I don't know if you've seen the whole environmental thing. It was like really good when lockdown started, everyone's talking about the benefits, and now suddenly it's another single-use product we've got to address as a human race. Right, England, holidays in England or holidays abroad? What do we think? What do we think? Molly looking to go on holiday to France in the coming weeks, but she's not alone. There's a lot of people searching for abroad. And again, I think you can see straight away, most people in the chat put 1, but actually there's that kind of desire to get away. So again, thinking about this for your businesses is, this is about not what you guys think for your business, but what your customers are searching for. And all this data is from Google Trends. TikTok versus Facebook. TikTok, the new kid on the block. That nearly rhymes as well. But fear not. Facebook massively dominating the search aspect to it. Although I think TikTok's going to be quite there's a stat actually that's coming out that we'll talk a little bit about TikTok in a sec. Netflix versus another new kid on the block, Disney Plus. Who's seen Frozen 2? Epic film. Seen it about 4 times now. Two daughters, they absolutely love it. What do we think? People going for Disney Plus. Look at that. Domination from Netflix. So again, just having a think about some of the, hopefully some surprises in this kind of set as well. Like, so another fight, I think this is the last one. So this is Barbers versus Hairdressers. 1 for Barbers, 2 for Hairdressers. Having a think about this for your businesses as well, like what you search for isn't necessarily what your customers search for. This one, a good example as well. Actually, Barbers was more searched for, which I found quite interesting. And again, there's going to be some changes to this. So obviously with the pandemic, with everything that's happening, we're seeing the way that people search change because we're seeing behaviors change. We're going to talk a little bit more about that later on, but you can see significant changes in the statistics there around, CLAP, NHS workers, etc. Because again, it's not something that we've done because we haven't had to. The world that we're living in is a very, very different world. So having a think about what that means for your business, what used to work for you may not work going forward. That's the first thing to consider. The keywords that you focus on historically may not be a search for going forward. So having to think about what those new ones might be. These are some stats that I pulled in from our internal catch-ups, which I thought would be quite interesting. So 7% of UK brands are investing more in marketing, which is positive, but there's still a lot of people trying to stay the course again, which I think I'm going to address is with the restart up mentality. There's reservations about returning to work in an office, quite a considerable number of people doing that. So again, having a think about what that means for your businesses as well and your clients. There's some signs of recovery, and 35% of all UK purchases were made on Amazon, which is mental, which is crazy. And I think the statistic is that normally online retail would account for 20% of retail. It now accounts for 30%, and that happened during lockdown. So we've seen a massive increase in that trend. And I believe that you'll be pleased to hear that Jeff Bezos made an additional, in a day, his personal wealth grew by $13 billion. Good times. Good for Jeff. Looking at some other stats. So again, influencers have taken a bit of a hit on some of this as well. Kids are spending as much time on TikTok as on YouTube. So that was a stat I wanted to sort of tie together with the other bit that we've seen. So again, thinking about, so TikTok have really recently added additional features as well so that advertisers can get more involved with that. So again, space to watch if you've got a young audience. And 55% of British consumers think that brands are taking advantage of the pandemic. So again, a little bit of a word of warning around some of this, which we'll address a bit later on, but just being careful with how sensitive we are to this topic. It's not an area to exploit. It is an area that we have to genuinely show care and kind of make sure that we're looking out for the best of our kind of clients and customers. So I wanted to talk about the restart up mentality. This is something that is almost fundamental to, I think, the next few months, and hopefully just months, not years. But during the sort of lockdown and during this last 3 months, there's a lot of similarities that I found with how I remember starting our business 12 years ago. Started in a dining room, back in a dining room. So it's gone full circle in that respect. But there's a lot of things that we can kind of look at in a positive way to try to, instead of focusing on the challenges, we see the opportunities. And I'm approaching this from an NLP perspective, which is neuro-linguistic programming, which realistically is just saying it's a language patterns and how we can interpret the world around us and potentially communicate more effectively. So something that I sort of really enjoy and done some courses on it. It's fantastic. And something I've tried to employ with how we're approaching our business and how we're working with our clients. And it starts off with things like when I see things like this with the bounce back loans. Like I get the theory, obviously, of bounce back. But we're going to hear bounce back. We're going to hear recovery a lot. But the trouble is that if we try to bounce back, it won't exist. The world will have changed. If we try to recover, we're going to aim to be back in a world that doesn't exist. So what do we need to do? How do we kind of focus? And I think in simple terms, NLP is about, how you see that cup. Is it half full or half empty? You'll be pleased to know that most people search for half full. So there's positivity out there. And what I mean by some of the things, that similarities with running a business is the unknowns, the opportunities, new things, learning. Like we're having to learn new skills, and if we're not, that's probably something you've got to focus on, because again, we're all going to need different sets of skills in the new world. Got to have a lot of confidence as well, because actually there's a lot of people that are going to sort of say you shouldn't try, it's too risky. Got to press on with that. The speed of change, it's moving so fast. I've come up with an idea this morning. I'm talking to our marketing guy which I think we're going to develop into a talk, and actually I've named it. What did I name it? I texted him earlier. Scenario marketing, because actually I think that what we're going to need in the world ahead is 2 different scenarios. So we have 2 different marketing strategies ready to deploy at any given moment based on how the world locks down or opens up. So watch that space. That was something that came to me this morning. But I think that that's the world that we're going to live in, is that going to have to move very, very quickly. Sometimes we're going to fail, and that's okay, because we can move on to the next thing. And all of this reminds me of that startup mentality that we have to bring to this situation. We can choose to look back, or we can choose to look forward, and it is a choice. We can absolutely choose to do that. So all I'd say is that anything you do going forward, rather than looking to bounce back and recover, it's move forward. How do I reinvent rather than how do I recover? It's what is the relevance of my business in that new world? And there's a few tools that we're going to talk about how you can help discover those answers, essentially. Any questions that you have, guys, do put them in the chat, and we can either answer them as I deliver it, or come back to them at the end, depending on if it can send us off track a little bit. So this is one of the first models that we've been working with our clients. And what we see as an agency, because we sort of track across different sectors, is some of the clients are positively impacted and some of them are negatively impacted. And just to sort of talk to the ones that have taken a hit during this time period, the blue line, which is the bottom one, which is the really hard hit, that's your travel, was your estate agencies, etc. The ones where everything had to shut, local shops, all those sorts of things very much overnight weren't able to operate. The key to this, and I think the way that this is all going to pan out, is we're going to see this happen. We're going to seesaw. We're going to go up and down as lockdowns are sort of deployed and then removed, I suspect. I don't know. I haven't got any insight to that, but that would be my guess at the moment, based on how things are looking. I reckon we're going to go in and out, and maybe on a local level. But what will that mean is that your revenue line is going to go up and down and up and down. And I think the key to this is looking at how you then stay relevant, how you stay in the conversation, so that as and when things open up again, you can hit the dotted trajectory line. And that's what we've got to focus on, is those dotted lines. Same for the black line as well. That's when you're partially impacted. So some of your businesses have dropped off. So Sleeping Giant Media is one of those. Some of our clients have dropped off. Some of them are loving life, and we're sort of in the middle, where we've taken a hit, but not completely. My objective is to stay in the conversation meet more people, so that then I can get to that dotted trajectory line. So what we've got, which we'll share in a second, is some links to some documents where there will be specific marketing activities that you can do to get to those dotted lines, which you can access. And just as before Sean shares those links, there's no sign up required. It's just you can access that and download that without sort of giving us your email addresses. There's no issues at all with that. The positively impacted businesses, so if you've been an overnight success, sort of anti-back hand cream was one, toilet roll, supermarkets, those are the ones that went crazy overnight. And then you've got the new normal, which is the yellow line. That is when we were in lockdown, so kind of where we are-ish now. People still focusing on, you know, garden furniture, stuff to do around the house, because we're still spending more time around the house than we were, and probably a lot of us aren't back in the offices yet. And so those are the businesses that have benefited during that time period. The challenge that they will face, or you will face if you are one of those, is how you stay relevant, how you keep the conversation going beyond the reopening of certain things. So if you know, people start going to the office, actually, if you're a garden furniture company, how do you stay relevant? So thinking about the things that you could be doing in order to do that. So again, just having a think about those sorts of things. And again, there will be those specific things that you can do in those downloads as well that you can access. And Sean is going to post the link now. Nah, he's not posting a link. He's just, what's he doing? I don't know what, we've done this like a million times, but anyway, Sean will post a link when he gets, you know, when he gets the moment. He's a pretty busy guy. So we can have a look at that again, access those ideas of how you can kind of take that forward. Another model I wanted to talk about with you is the pandemic change curve as well. So this is based on the standard change curve by Elizabeth Kubler-Ross. And it's often, you hear it when you're going through a grief scenario. It's that kind of denial, anger, fear, acceptance, etc. And you go through those kind of stages. And again, this is a simplified scenario, because the world that we're going to go forward, we're going to go backwards. You know, there's going to be some challenges that a lot of people face with either redundancy, with furloughing, etc. And we're going to go through all these stages in those different scenarios. But specifically for the pandemic, you know, there was the discovery phase where we're like, oh, this could be interesting. What's going on over here in China? Then there's realization, actually, it's going to be impacting all of us. Panic's about the 23rd of March, when everything goes into lockdown. Incidentally, my birthday, wicked day. Not my worst birthday as well. I was burgled on a previous birthday. And then we move into normalize, which actually is sort of the last 3 months, where we're not, oh, it's exciting working from home. It's like, oh, it's another Zoom call. It's like, we're used to it. It's not a thing anymore. It's just the world that we live in. And then we move into the next stage, which is the recovery, which is kind of where some sectors are moving into now, where things are starting to pick up. And then finally, we reach the new world. And I think our definition of the new world is the world where the virus has disappeared and it's not an issue, but the world's a different place. The world has changed because, you know, we have already changed our behaviors and we will do things differently. We've found new efficiencies during this time period. We're much more conscious about health and safety than we were prior to this. So the new world is kind of that. And I think we need to look at reinventing our businesses ready for those different stages. So I think, you know, a couple of things here, thinking about where you are, thinking about where your customers or your clients might be on this stage, and then think about those key change events. So what are the big changes that are likely to come up if you're returning people to work, if you are going to the office, if you are having to make redundancies, if you are, you know, all those key things, you will trigger a new change curve. And to help you to plan, because I think you know, the bit that a lot of businesses I've been speaking to are struggling with is trying to get their head around how to simplify a very complex situation, because this is complex. There's a lot of things to think about. I would pose these 3 questions, and this will help you to understand what those challenges and what those changes that you need to make are to your business. So what behaviors will change? How will that impact my business? And where are the opportunities? And if you work your way through those 3 questions, you will come up with hundreds of things that you can be doing right now for your business, not to necessarily deal with the current situation, but to make sure that you are planning a business and a marketing strategy ready for that new world. Because if you focus on just, you know, riding this kind of up and down right now, you will probably be making sort of short-term decisions that won't help you to benefit in the long term. So those 3 questions will really help to get your mind thinking about that. As an example, just some real top line ones for us as a business. So we've used video conferencing for ages, and we you know, I was like, guys, set that office up. So we've got loads of camera sort of facilities, so we could do video conferencing because it saves travel time. But a lot of our clients weren't ever really up for it. because they were like, no, it's not really that good using video, but now our clients' acceptance and use of technology has gone from here to here overnight because it's been forced, which means our impact is going to be less travel, less face-to-face meetings. Where are the opportunities for our business? Well, if as an agency, we have to do our pitches, and when we're sort of trying to sell to our clients via this is a massive opportunity. If we can make ourselves brilliant at video pitching, video conferencing, compared to our competitors, that is a significant opportunity for us as an organization. Now, this is just specifically for us. And that is, you see one tiny little change, but one massive opportunity. Because if we could improve our conversion rate by 5% because we're better at video conferencing compared to our competitors, that's incredible. And if you go back to those revenue trajectory lines, those dotted lines, that's the sort of stuff that gets us to that dotted line. Go to the next one. Teams not wanting to be in the office. Our teams some of them are back in the office. I think we have about 10 out of the 55 people. I think everyone's going to go in for one day this month, almost try and break, almost I think from a mental health perspective, we're going to try and encourage people to kind of come out in case they've kind of built themselves a kind of the nesting scenario. So we're trying to get them back in a little bit more from their own health and safety, their own mental health perspective. But from our perspective, it doesn't really matter if they're in the office. They do a great job from home. And so actually we've got to look at our working from home policy, our health and safety, our remote culture. We've also, for example, going back to which kind of combines the two of them, is we have bought all of the team a full working from home kit. So new keyboard, new mouse, stands, looking at their camera quality if it's not good enough, to go back to the two, that almost combining those two, because again, big opportunity for us. And again, I haven't put it in here, but another opportunity will be we can recruit people from anywhere. We used to be kind of more, closely bound to Kent and to Folkestone, where our office is based, because we wanted the culture to be there. But actually, the remote culture is working really well as well. There's a bit of a balance. I think there's some bits that we want to get everyone together for sure. But actually, we can now recruit talent from anywhere, and it doesn't really matter, because we've had somebody start Sleeping Giant Media, working in Sleeping Giant Media during lockdown. So our head of finance has never met all the team face to face. And she's doing an absolutely fantastic job and generally enjoying it. Although would, at some point like to meet everybody face to face, just to work out how tall they are. I was chatting to her yesterday. She's like, I don't know how tall people are. I just see the top part of their body. So there's definitely, opportunities within section. So again, there's a link. There's the link, Sean. God, it's on the screen there. You can, if you could access that, there's the documents that we've put together, and you can see here that we've tried to map out some change behaviors, so things that we think will change, some context that you can apply that to, and then what you'll see there also on that document is the impact rating. So what we've done from this as an organization is go through those questions top line. Then I've got all of my heads of department to do exactly this, and then we try to compile this all to say, right, what does Sleeping Giant Media look like in a year's time? And now we're making decisions, not just about what we've got to react to instantly, got to do that obviously, but we're trying to think about what we want in terms of recruitment, what do we want in terms of setup, what do we want in terms of office, all those areas, all driven by those three questions. Okay, that will help you to shape that. And from that, you can then market more effectively, because you will also know that businesses' needs have changed. And we have started a new business during lockdown because we think that the behaviors of customers will change. And so therefore we've adapted and created something that we think will be more relevant to the world that we go in. Sean has posted the link. There he is. Good lad. Thanks, mate. So yeah, do check it out. There's no kind of sign up required there, just hopefully some useful information that will help you with the next stages. And I just wanted to quickly touch upon this, because I'm going to, Molly, if I wrap up just after 11, is that, yeah, cool. So this is something that I've added about 5 minutes before I started, because I thought it was quite useful, because something I'll be speaking about more recently is what to market around in the kind of, in the new world. You're suffering with technical issues. Mate, you just undermined my point about having an awesome home setup. But so these are the things that we need to do more of as marketing in the new world. So I think I'd want to just share some ideas, and we can maybe just sort of Q&A this one as well. But authenticity and validity, I think it's always been important, but I think going back to that stat at the start, which is 55% of British consumers think that companies are exploiting, this kind of lockdown scenario. we've got to make sure that we're seen to be doing this not for a ticking box exercise, but because we genuinely care. And if you don't, it's a difficult thing to fake. Safety and compliance, just some examples I'm going to show you there, and personal and brand values are things that I think will kind of be needed to change. So just some examples as well, just to kind of kickstart a few things. You've got to live your business and social values. You can't fake those. Listen to your audience views using social, listen to what they're talking about. Increase human to human contact, really, really important. I think, even the big brands where, till this situation and we're faceless now, are coming into kind of contact with people, which is great. And you're seeing some CEOs stepping up and talking, in front of audiences and in terms of virtual audiences, which they've never done before. So I think those are really, really important. And again, it's that human identity. This is a very human challenge that we're all facing. So bringing those values to the fore of your marketing will be really important. And then business ignoring that they're gonna potentially, really, really kind of suffer. Health and safety, obviously important, but more important than you may envisage, in the sense of, we used to go to the barbers, as you saw, more people searching for barbers than hairdressers, and who would search for anything related to health and safety? It's not something you would ever consider doing, but now it is something that actually that people will search for, because it is important to know before you get there, where do you need to wear a mask? What's the sort of the safety facilities? This applies for basically all businesses currently. Being socially aware. This isn't just related to your clients, but also to your team as well. So treating them with respect, because it will, I think we will be judged as businesses of how we've handled this situation, and it will be something that will last for some time. Visual content, really important. I went to my barber's, which is why I avoided that beard scenario, and I checked out his website and there was nothing there. It just said, almost like business as usual. I went there sort of hesitantly, and there was loads of protective stuff in place, and he was showing me, I was like, mate, none of that's on your website. And so actually it's a really, really important that you put that there, because I went down there because it was a walking distance, but a lot of people wouldn't. So, I think you've got to make sure that you're overtly showing that through visual content, and be warned of saying back to normal, because I think there is, normal is different now. And just as an example, COVID friendly as a search term, who would have searched for that in Feb? Nobody. Or as you can see there, suddenly it's going to, it's on the rise. How much of your content do you include, social distancing related terms, COVID friendly, terms like that people, again, search for now where they never did in the past. Personal and brand value. So again, for B2B businesses, particularly important, trying to make sure that you've got a good presence on LinkedIn or the social channels that relate to your audience. But I think it's trying to ensure that you've got a personal brand, but not necessarily don't worry about doing like viral videos that are like you doing something stupid. It doesn't have to be that. If you're up for it, awesome. But if you're not, the key to this is anchoring it to something more concrete, so that you get people who follow you and engage with you because of what you do. And there's a tie back to the revenue aspect as well. So it's not just for the vanity sake of lots and lots of viewers. It's about actually, are there viewers that will listen to what we're saying, that then could become future clients as well. So I think that, trying to tie that together. And again, if you're not using much of video, now is the time to really embrace that. I've been saying this for quite some time. I think lots of people have been generally. It's an important area, but you have to be embracing video. I think in the new world, it's something that will be really important, because it carries a lot of the previous bits we've just been talking about. It carries that personal element to it, that brand value, and it helps with the health and safety bit if you're filming kind of office as well. So really important to do that if you're not already. So working on, for the marketing in the new world, personal branding, really important, and trust factors, listening to your audience is really, really important. Knowing that online habits will change as well. So thinking about what you will need to do in order to kind of be there when they ask the questions online. Content marketing is going to be massive, hugely important going forward, because again, people do more research now because we're not out and about as much as we were. And we want to, and even before we go out, we want to ask more questions, because of there are more unknowns in the world that we live in, and the continued growth of video. So those are the kind of the ideas I wanted to share with you, and we'll kind of go to Q&A in just a sec. Just to let you know, we also are running a whole series of talks, which is all about be a digital rock star. We are running one today. I think Danny's doing one, Amber's doing one. Basically, they're all free. You can access them on our website, so do check them out. So what I've tried to do here is talk about the top line, the strategy, the things that you need to be considering as a business, and then how you relate that to your marketing. In those topics, we'll be talking about specifics, so like getting started on Facebook or something much more specific of like how to. So if you're looking to do some of that yourself, do check out the site. You'll find the information there. And I do a live show as well. So if you're on LinkedIn, do stop in and say hi on Wednesdays and Fridays at 4:30. I'll be doing the Business as Unusual show, where I interview a guest and get some insights into what they've been up to and what they're doing next, to sort of help share some additional ideas as well. So if you're around on LinkedIn, come and say hi. That is it from me. Thank you very much, everybody. I was going to stop sharing the screen now. And again, I mean, Molly, if you're happy, I don't mind just sort of, if people can unmute and just sort of jump in if they fancy asking some questions.
Yeah, definitely. If anyone's got any questions, feel free to unmute yourselves.
Look, this isn't a question. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Yeah, go for it.
But I found like my university son got a placement job in London, started a couple of weeks ago, and it's a financial auditor, so they're doing really well in this crisis. Mm-hmm. And the big company chose to bring all the 50 placement students into the office in London. And I said, and the main contractors were allowed to work from home. And I said, but why do you think they brought them in, you know, to work from London? And he said, because we're in little bubbles and we all go out and drink in the evening and we get to know each other. So for the next year, we will link together as a group. And I thought, you know, that company will go far because it's seen the validity of working on the pandemic, but also with the youngsters of tomorrow who need face-to-face and not be stuck at home. So I was really pleased.
Yeah, it's great as long as they're all happy to do it. And
the youngsters of today are more than happy to be in London and travel in London. And as my one does, he'll live in London and be in the office and meeting loads of people. And he loves the London life already.
Great. No, great. It's good to hear. And I think it's, yeah, we have to start thinking about that, trying to bring people together, and because there is that social aspect that is missed. You know, that is the one bit that's difficult. We're going to try to do a company gathering in my garden, so get everybody in the garden, so it's kind of not in the office space, because actually our guys are still quite young, but they're not keen. Some of them are not keen at all to come into the office space at all. So yeah, trying to find that balance. If they're all happy with it, great.
But they're in little bubbles of five to a bubble.
Yeah, no, to be honest, I don't think some of our guys would be keen on going to London, to be honest with you. So again, it varies. I think you'll find that there's, you know, I can't remember the statistics for when we did our survey. So we had 55 people in the business, and I think it was about 80% happy to kind of come in and get involved, but others not. So I think it is quite kind of varied. But yeah, I mean, it's great if they're up for it. I mean, you can't replace the social aspects remotely. I don't think there's some stuff that you can do, great, but you know, actually it's really important. We are social animals. We do sort of thrive in that environment. So I think you'll find that there'll be a balance between bringing people back into the office, but maybe it's more of a social level, which might then change the function of the office. So the office may not be this, you know, this kind of the way it was used before, but it might be an opportunity to then gather and sort of socially kind of connect. So yeah, interesting one. Yeah, and I'm pleased to hear it's working out.
Yeah, thank you.
I've got a quick question about sort of the advertising options that are open to businesses now. Obviously, a lot of businesses advertise Facebook, Instagram. Could you see the cost of that advertising increasing now that advertising in places, I don't know, such as whether it be newspapers, magazines, public transport, whether it be on buses, taxis, tubes? Can you see Facebook and Instagram sort of taking advantage of that and now pushing their price up because of the demand that's going to be there?
Yeah, I mean, so when everything kind of kicked off, we saw a massive decline. It was a 27% reduction in the average cost per click on Facebook during the month of April. But then by May, it had already recovered to beyond pre-COVID levels, where people are going, oh, okay, right, this, we've got to kind of reinvest in this as well. So you will see that social channels in overall, they will make more money out of this for sure. They will definitely see more money. The thing to note though is that it's not them driving up their prices as such, because it's an auction model. So actually what happens is the more demand there is to be on those channels, the more you have to pay in order to be there. So you have to kind of, so it's like pay-per-click advertising, and it's an algorithm that determines your position based on how much you're willing to spend and how relevant your ad is to the searcher. So this is the same thing will apply for Facebook, Instagram, etc., where it will be, if more people try to advertise on there, it will not organically drive up the prices for each of them. The more competition there is, the more the prices will go up, which then moves to the next thing, is that you then have to be a bit smarter potentially of how you do that. So you, again, when we work with clients, if there's a sort of a smaller budget, you just have to be much more specific about what are important to you in terms of the types of people or the content that you're going after, in order to make sure that you're reducing the amount of people that you compete against, if that makes sense. So you try to be much more specific with the targeting, and the more specific you are with the targeting, the less competition there is, and subsequently the less cost there is as well. So yes, overall we'll see an increase because more people will be doing that, probably because more people are online, less people are kind of offline. And to be honest with you, this isn't a new thing. This is an existing trend. You've seen this happening now for probably the last sort of 5-6 years, where online channels are increasing in kind of competition because people find them much more effective as well. So they're more easily trackable than a lot of traditional forms of media as well. So it's not a new trend, it's an existing trend. It's just like online retail. As I said, it equated for about 20% of the total UK retail market. It now is 30%, and it would have got there probably in the next 5 years, but it did it in 3 months. And so it's that sort of trends acceleration that we're seeing with some of these things, as more people do more browsing online.
Thank you.
All right. Any other questions, guys? Anything that you're working on at the moment that you wanted to share as well? Any ideas that you've seen that are particularly exciting? Bravery, people, come on. You must be doing something cool. No one's doing anything cool.
It sounds like that's everyone. You've answered all their questions. That's a sign of a good show. Thank you for that, though. That was really, I've made so many notes on that.
Oh, great.
Quickly, if it's okay, just before everyone leaves, just going to go over some upcoming events. So we have on next week, next Thursday, we have 7 things to think about when making redundancies. Unfortunately, sad topic to talk about, but it is something that can be beneficial to a lot of people at the moment. So we have Amanda Rokill from Fairly Paid Solicitors joining us for that one. And we also, on Tuesday the 18th of August, have our virtual business networking. And that's again hosted by Luke and sponsored by Fairly Paid Solicitors. It's a really good fun event to get involved with if you haven't joined us already before. So thank you very much for joining us today, guys, and feel free to, see you at the next one, hopefully.